You see them everywhere. Sidelines of the World Cup, the Olympics, packed into the press pits of a Formula One race. They're impossible to miss, those massive, almost comically large white camera lenses. For decades, they've been a fixture of professional photography, a silent army of glass and metal pointed at the world's biggest moments. And for just as long, most people have assumed that the color is just a matter of style, a way to stand out in a sea of black equipment. But what if I told you that's not the real story? What if that white color isn't a fashion statement at all? It's a suit of armor. It's a visual code for a hidden battle happening inside that lens barrel. A battle against an invisible enemy that can bend light, ruin perfect shots, and throw delicate optics out of alignment. The truth is, that white paint is a secret weapon. And the story behind it is a tale of physics, material science, and a relentless pursuit of the perfect picture. To understand the white lens, you must first have to understand its greatest enemy, which is heat. Now, it's a simple concept that we all learned as kids that a black car gets hotter in the sun than a white car does. This is just basic physics. Dark surfaces soak up more light and convert it into thermal energy or heat. White surfaces, on the other hand, are highly reflective and absorb far less. For most of our camera gear, this isn't a huge deal. A small black camera body might get warm, but it rarely is enough to cause total failure. But we're not talking about compact lenses here. We're talking about the super telephotos, the giants of photography world. A lens like a 400 or a 600 millimeter has a massive surface area just begging to soak up solar radiation. Now, when a sports or wildlife photographer is sitting under the blazing sun for hours, that lens is like a solar panel constantly absorbing energy. This heat creates a whole cascade of problems. Inside that lens is a complex system of precision ground glass elements, and as these elements heat up, they expand. We're talking about microscopic changes here, but in a system where tolerances are measured in microns, even the slightest expansion can be devastating. It can shift the focal plane, making the image lose sharpness. It can alter the distance between the lens elements, throwing the entire optical formula out of whack. Even the air trapped between the elements can become a problem. As it heats up, its refractive index changes, meaning it bends light differently than the engineers intended, and this potentially leads to blurry images. Plus, holding a lens that has become intensely hot is a serious burden for photographers. In short, an overheated lens is an unreliable lens, and for a pro, unreliable is unacceptable. Now, the problem of heat gets even more serious when you consider a special material that Canon pioneered, one that gave their lenses a huge edge in image quality, and that was synthetic fluorite. The story of the white lens is completely tied to the story of this fluorite. For decades, optical engineers struggled with something called chromatic aberration, and that's the technical term for the color fringing, that ugly purple and green halos you sometimes see around high contrast subjects. Now, this happens because simple glass lenses bend different colors of light at slightly different angles, so they don't all hit the same sharp focus point. Natural fluorite crystals were known to have amazing optical properties that could dramatically reduce this aberration. The problem was, natural crystals were too small and impure for camera lenses. But in the 1960s, Canon had a breakthrough. They figured out how to artificially grow pure, large-scale synthetic fluorite crystals. Now, this was a game changer. It gave Canon a killer advantage, making them the first, and for a long time, the only manufacturer to put fluorite in their autofocus SLR camera lenses. And this resulted in unmatched color and sharpness. But this miracle material had an Achilles heel. Synthetic fluorite is extremely sensitive to temperature changes. When it heats up, it expands, and that thermal expansion can seriously mess with the lens's optical performance. So Canon had a dilemma. They had an incredible material for stunningly sharp images, but was vulnerable to exact conditions that the pro photographers worked in every day. They needed a way to protect that delicate fluorite element from the sun. They needed a shield. The solution was elegantly simple, yet profoundly effective. He painted white. Based on the basic principles that white reflects sunlight, Canon decided to use the color as a form of thermal management. By coating their large, super telephoto lenses in a light reflective color, they could dramatically reduce the heat absorption by the lens barrel and protecting the sensitive fluorite and other optics inside. Now, this wasn't a minor tweak. It was modern heat shielding coats that can massively reduce the temperature rise inside of a lens compared to the traditional black finish. However, the color you see in pure white, Canon engineers quickly realized that a brilliant white lens could act as a mirror that could create glare that would distract other photographers and even startle wildlife. So, they decided on a off-white or a light gray shade that still offered great heat reflection without being blindingly bright. Over the decades, this paint has evolved into a highly engineered multi-layered heat shield. While older paints used titanium oxide, it was found that the carbon black used for toning was great at absorbing infrared rays, and this was a very part of the light spectrum that generates the most heat. Canon's newest heat shield coating replaced those materials with a special infrared reflective pigment. This advantaged formula is designed not only to reflect visible light, but to actively block infrared radiation, and this offers a much higher level of thermal protection. This ensures the lens stays stable and reliable even hours after direct, intense sunlight. This high-tech coating isn't just on the main barrel either. The lens hood gets some of the same treatment, ensuring a consistent temperature across the entire lens system and maintains optical integrity from the first element to the last. Canon's white SLR lenses officially debuted in 1976 with the FD 600mm f4.5 and the FD 800mm 5.6. While the company had used white paint on broadcast lenses since the 1960s, this was the first time it appeared on lenses for SLR cameras. The white finish was a direct response to the heat challenges posed by the large size and critical for their use of fluorite. The proof that this was a right call came straight from the field. A famous incident happened in the Australian Open in the early 2000s. Photographers using Canon gear reported that their autofocus was failing. When the cameras were checked indoors, they worked perfectly. It took a technician sitting out in the stands with the photographers to figure it all out. The intense Australian sun was heating the lenses to such an extreme that the temperature itself was affecting the sensitive autofocus mechanisms. Experience like this drove even more innovations in Canon's heat shielding technology, proving just how vital the white coating really was. Over the years, cameras got higher resolution and the demand for image quality grew, thermal stability, and became everything. The white paint that started as a practical fix to a material science problem had actually proven itself essential. It became a hallmark of reliability. It promised that a lens would perform whether capturing a skier in bright snow or a lion in the sun-drenched savannah. The color was now synonymous with professional performance. I'm going to break here for a second and ask if you find these deep dives into the technology behind the gear you see every day fascinating. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. There are hidden stories and secret codes everywhere in the world of photography, and I'm here to uncover them. Of course, the story doesn't end with just engineering. What became as a practical solution quickly became one of the most powerful branding tools in photographic history. On the sidelines of any major event, the sea of white lenses creates an undeniable visual statement. It's free advertising on a massive scale, in fact. Even in sports video games, the virtual photographers are often shown with white lenses because that's what we expect to see. This led to what photographers called the white and black war. Now, for decades, the pro world was visually split between two giants. That's Canon's with its all-white telephotos, and Nikon with its signature all-black lenses. Now, Nikon long ago argued that its optical designs and materials didn't need a white exterior for thermal management. This created a fierce band loyalty and a clear visual divide in the press pool. A wall of white lenses meant Canon dominated that event. The white color paired with the distinctive red ring on the Canon professional L series lenses became a status symbol. The L, as for the L series, officially stood for luxury, and this signified the highest standard for optical and build quality. Now, owning a white L series lens told the world that you were a pro, or at least dead serious about your craft. It projected authority and expertise. Now, in recent years, the battlefield has changed. Sony has jumped in as a major player in the pro mirrorless market, and interestingly, they've also adapted the white light gray color for their high-end telephotos, recognizing both the functionality and branding power that Canon has established in the past. This has turned the old black and white war into a new era with three major competitors. But Canon's iconic white finish remains the original and most recognized symbol of pro-grade thermal protection. So the next time you're watching a major sporting event and you see that long line of photographers with their massive white lenses, you'll know the secret code. You know you're just not looking at a branding choice. You're looking at a piece of purposely built technology. You're seeing the thermal shield designed to fight the raw power of the sun. You're seeing the legacy of a decision made decades ago to protect a revolutionary material called fluorite. It's a story where physics met marketing, where a problem of thermal expansion led to one of the most iconic brand identities in the world. That white coating is more than just paint. It's a solution, a symbol, and a testament to incredible engineering hidden just beneath the surface of the images that we see every day. So if you found the story about the reasoning and the history of the white lenses, please click the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to click that bell to be notified of upcoming videos. Also, you may want to check out this video over here. Until later, this is Steve, and I'll catch you in the next video.